For those who suffer from fibromyalgia, they know it's no laughing matter. Autoimmune disorders are plaguing our country today, and there's a definite reason why. We're going to explore that next on Body and Spirit. I'm Dick Nunez, co-owner of Fit in 15 Personal Training Systems. Welcome to Body and Spirit. Throughout my career, I've worked with a lot of people with autoimmune disorders. One of the ones that's been considered a trash can diagnosis is fibromyalgia. For anybody who suffers from it, it is no trash can. It's a reality. Fibromyalgia plagues a lot of people, and the problem is they don't know what to do about it. They might try medication, they may try all sorts of different programs, and nothing seems to work. The good news is, in my experience with people with fibromyalgia, we have found great success giving people a good exercise program, helping them with their eating habits, and also helping with their thought process, because all those things affect our immune system and how we feel. So we're going to talk about that more now as we get into our program. And helping me out here will be Lisa, who's also a personal trainer, and she also has worked with a lot of people with fibromyalgia and autoimmune disorders. And so together we're going to go through a workout. And we're going to do it from a seated position because people with fibromyalgia oftentimes are uncomfortable doing any type of exercise. They're afraid to do anything. And here's the reality. By doing exercise, it can be a double-edged sword. If you work too much, it could actually make you worse. If you don't do anything, you're not going to get any better. So what do? Well, we go with a simple exercise program that will allow you to make great gains without causing the irritation. You can't overtrain, and you can't go too much on the negative aspect of exercise because that will definitely inflame the muscle sheath, and anything that starts to hurt will be hyper exaggerated with anybody who has an autoimmune disorder. So we're going to start with our program now. We're going to go real gentle. Lisa, as we warm up, we're just going to do some light arm swings right down here. And anytime you're dealing with an autoimmune disorder, anytime you start to feel some discomfort or irritation, just go ahead and stop and rest, because it's always better to rest and then just pick up again rather than trying to push yourself through something that's going to make you uncomfortable. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a series of motion of exercise that is going to focus on the range of motion. Of course, it can be done with resistance, but for right now, we're going to be good just doing something. Okay, so let's go ahead and rest there. What we're going to do is we're going to push our hands together like this, and we're going to just gently come out, all the way out, and bring it back in. We're going to do it slowly. Right now we're focusing on the chest. As we squeeze the hands together, it will engage the pectoralis muscles, which are your chest muscles. Now the harder you push, the more it's going to affect you. So if you really clamp down and push hard, you're going to get more of an effect from it. But if you have fibromyalgia or other autoimmune disorders, which could be chronic fatigue, chronic pain, rheumatoid arthritis, all those autoimmune type things, they can cause immense amount of pain. So you have to go by your own body, because there's going to be physiological variability in all people. You can't just put everybody into a cookie cutter and say, okay, you're going to be exactly like this. And there's no blueprint for any one person. You have to work with people. You have to ask them lots of questions. So the best thing to do is start really gentle, go through your exercise, and then you will find what works best for you. And so when I work with people with fibromyalgia, I try and keep the workouts as simple as possible. And if I add something, I add it one thing at a time. Otherwise, you don't know exactly what it is that might be causing the discomfort. Okay, we're doing okay there? Mm-hmm. Now we're going to switch the angle, and we're going to push upward. Okay, all the way up, back down, and up, and down, and up, and down, and up, and down, and up, and down. Let's do about 5 more of those. This is also working the chest, but we're hitting it from a little different angle. So instead of straight out like we were doing, a vertical chest press, now we're doing a little more of an incline. By squeezing our hands together, it simply gives us a little bit of resistance while we go through the range of motion. Okay, and let's just hold at the top now there, Lisa, and squeeze the hands together. Squeeze them together. Squeeze it together. And now relax. Nice thing about exercise, it gives you an endorphin feeling. The endorphins, the endorphin rush will help boost your immune system. And so that's what we're after, try and make people feel good. And so much of what causes pain to people is what's going on between their ears. In other words, if they're thinking harsh thoughts, it's not good for you. And I was just reading a quote this morning where it talks about feelings is not a good boss for our life. Our frontal lobe is a good boss for our life. So we don't want to react to all our feelings all the time because it will make us feel worse. And when we're stressed out and depressed, we hurt more. In fact, most of the time when you find somebody with fibromyalgia, you also find somebody that's battling with depression. And the good news about that, just by exercising 3 times a week for a couple months, 66% of all depression disappears. Okay, so what I want to do now is we're going to put our hands behind our head and stretch out gently. If you overstretch a muscle, you can create what's called a Golgi tendon response. So we don't want to do that. We just want to have a nice gentle stretch and then bring it across. Okay, and let's do it again. Hands behind the head, stretch back, and then across again. All right, now we're going to do a back exercise. So we're going to be reaching out like this. We're going to roll back until our elbows hit the chair and then push back into the chair and then back out. Reach your shoulder blades out as far as you can. And we're pulling back into the chair, push, try to contract the muscles of your upper back, and then reach out. And squeeze it back, and reach out. And back, and out. We'll keep doing the reps there, Lisa. I know my experience, I find that when people start exercising with fibromyalgia, we might start with a very limited amount of exercise, but as they get stronger, they can actually do more. Have you found that with your training as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. After sometimes even just a few months, you'd never know that they were fibromyalgia. When they came in, they've increased their weight, sometimes even 5 times as much from the first day, 2 months into it.
And that is something that we do see, where people who are so brittle when they first start, a few months later, it's like they never did have it. Mm-hmm. And some of these people have battled with it for 20 years with no hope and no help. And then all of a sudden they feel like a new person. They go, well, where was this? Well, be thankful you finally found it. Okay, and let's go and relax. Okay, now let's go and stretch those muscles. So we're going to reach up overhead, gently grab the elbow and pull it. Also, what we eat has so much to do with it. When somebody eats a lot of sugar, if you have 25 teaspoons of sugar at one shot, and that's not that hard to do, if people have pop or things like that, let's go and switch. They get 25 teaspoons of sugar very easily, and that will compromise your immune system by 95% for 12 hours. And when we compromise our immune system, we are going to set ourselves up for situations like autoimmune disorders. Okay? Also, a big one is sleep. Sleep is such a big issue. Sleep before midnight has been said to be twice as valuable as sleep after midnight. That's because it works within the rhythms of our body, and we get the maximum amount of chemical reaction in our brain, the human growth hormone, the tryptophan, to serotonin, to melatonin transformation. All those things are much more efficient before midnight. And so when people try to burn the midnight oil and they sleep in way too long, they're going to be compromised, or they don't get enough sleep. And that's something a lot of people are guilty of as well. They don't sleep enough. And if you don't sleep enough, what is compromised? Your immune system. Okay, now we're going to bring our hands up like this, we're going to simulate a shoulder press. So we're just going to push up overhead and back down. Push up, back down. Push up, back down. Push, back down. And again, on this one, you can force yourself to struggle more and act like you're lifting a very heavy load, and that will actually work your shoulders even more. Starting out, I would suggest just going through the range of motion, feeling those muscles work, because for a lot of people with autoimmune disorders, fibromyalgia, they haven't done anything in a long time.
No, just the range of motion is enough.
Just the range of motion is enough.
Something else I find with my clients, which amazes me, is how little water they drink.
That's a big one as well.
And just taking in water, especially for, I'm thinking of a specific fibromyalgia person, she just didn't drink water at all. And as soon as she started drinking water and had a little sea salt, it was amazing. And now she takes that as a key. As soon as she gets a headache and starts hurting, she kind of asks herself, well, have I had water yet today? And she found out that was a huge key in how she felt.
That's good. And one of the professions I have found that really lead the way in fibromyalgia are nurses, because they have terrible schedules, a lot of stress, and don't seem to be able to find the time to drink adequate amounts of water.
And their sleep schedule.
And their sleep schedule is terrible. Okay? Have you found that as well? Nurses will have a lot of that. Okay, let's reach out, bring it across the body, and we'll stretch.
But a lot of times they don't have a choice because that's their schedule. They do a night shift for a couple, and then they do a day shift, and so their rhythms are off.
And that's really hard when people have to shift their schedule. Okay? Out again, bring it across. Also, when people eat a lot of foods, the pH balance is so important. When people eat a lot of foods that are going to be high acidic, they're going to have a lot more inflammation. When people can get more alkaline, take in a lot of more whole food herbs, things like that. Or,
Greens.
I'm sorry?
Greens.
Greens, or get even some type of thing that will convert their water into be more alkaline, which will help them, helps their body immensely so they don't hurt near so much. Okay? Now let's just do some light arm exercise. We're just going to reach down and we're just going to curl up as if we're doing some dumbbell curls. I think mine are heavier than yours.
I don't think it looks like you're carrying the same air I am.
Okay. So we're just flexing the biceps now and reach out. The biceps function is to curl and supinate the wrist, which means to turn it out. So we keep our palms up. And then we want to reach all the way down as well. Full range of motion is very important. Every joint in the body is weak. It's simply a bone coming to bone hooked by ligaments. The muscles are what give the joints strength. And so when we take it to a full range of motion, in this case, the biceps is going to flex the elbow. So it's going to give strength to that elbow area. When people ignore the muscles of their arms, they're making a gross mistake. Oftentimes when we're doing weight training with fibromyalgia people, I don't have them do specific arm workout at first because they get enough arm stimulation just doing the other ones for their chest, their back, and their shoulders, which I find to be more important. And then they get enough arm stimulation from that I usually don't worry about it, especially at first until they start feeling a lot better. Okay, good. And I know we've seen people in the beginning, especially with fibromyalgia, they're looking for any reason to quit. It doesn't take hardly anything. Well, I'm starting to hurt or whatever. And then you have to remind them a lot of times about where you were when you first started and where you're at now, or even take them and put them on the weights they were at when they first started. And then they realize, wow, I've gotten so much better, because we'd like things just to go straight up, but it doesn't work that way. We start going up, we level out. And what I tell people all the time is your bad days now are going to be better than your best days in the beginning. And your best days now are going to be so far above what you ever thought you could do again. Okay, now let's do the triceps. We're going to take our fists like that, and we're going to press down, and press down, and press down, and press down, and push, and push. Try and contract the triceps at the bottom. This is an area that affects women a lot. They want to get rid of those, they call them bat wings, angel wings, grandma way, bye-bye fat, whatever you want to call it. But they start gathering that on the back of their arms and their triceps area. And of course, you can't magically spot reduce anything. It doesn't work that way. The body loses fat systemically throughout. But certainly stimulating the muscles in the area will firm the muscles up. And I know a lot of times women will say to me, and I'm sure you hear this too, they go, my arms feel so much firmer since I started doing this.
Yeah.
They say that I don't jiggle quite as long as I once did when I first started it. Okay, that's good. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do some leg exercise. And again, we're just going to do range of motion. And we're going to start by just doing some extension like that. And so we're just extending the leg. And by doing that, we contract our quadriceps. Very simple. Pretty much anybody can do this, just sitting in their chair. Even while somebody's watching 3ABN at home, they can sit in the chair and do some easy leg extensions. But on the same token, you want to be practical on that as well. Because if you start doing some exercise and go, well, this feels better, I'll just do more and more and more. You have to give yourself some break in between as well. So that's why I so often just recommend the 3 times a week to make sure somebody has a complete day of rest in between.
And everybody's different. Sometimes they've had fibromyalgia people so bad that they only can work out once a week to start out with. But then optimally is 3. But if you only can do it once a week at first, that's fine.
Okay. Important thing is to do something. I know so often people have been so apprehensive about starting. And then once they do, they just, oh, I wish I wouldn't have waited so long because they feel so much better. Very important to stay away from things like sugar, caffeine, alcohol, tobacco, so many of the environmental things around, or even the things like using what type of cleaning supplies they use, if they lose too much bleach and so forth. All these things affect the immune system. I know that I had a woman that I was training who did cleaning. She was a housekeeper. And when she did a lot of cleaning, you could see the difference as opposed to when she had some time off. When she had some time off, she lifted drastically better. And so when she'd come in, she goes, I don't feel very good today. I would say, well, did you work yesterday? Well, yes, I had to work yesterday. Drastic difference. And then you'd have a day where she had a really good day working out. When's the last time you worked? Well, I worked 4 days ago. But getting into those cleaners all the time, and people don't realize just how much that affects, or people living in big cities and breathing in all the toxins in the air makes a big difference. Okay, we're going to stand up for a moment, Lisa, and we're going to come to the back of our chairs, and we'll use our chair to stabilize, and what we're going to do is some standing leg curls. And we'll start with our left leg first, and we'll just curl the leg back up and back down. And so now we're flexing the back of the leg as we come up, focusing on the hamstring. This is an area that gets neglected a lot, but we want to make sure we have a balance between the quadriceps and the hamstrings. When you get an imbalance of muscles, that's when people start having injuries. So we want to try and curl it up as far as you can and then back down. I feel like a ballet dancer. No?
You look like one.
I look like one. Okay, now we're going to switch to the other side.
I know you mentioned all the toxins that people take in, and one of our biggest things, our skin. People forget about things that we put on our skin. Our skin are our biggest pore, our biggest detoxer. We sweat through it, but also, our lotions, our perfumes that we put on, and what we wash our clothes in. And so that can affect people, especially autoimmune people that are already compromised.
The skin is the largest organ in the body.
Yeah.
Covers the most ground. An amazing amount of miles of capillaries just for every, I don't remember if it's every square inch of skin. It was like 19 miles of vessels. It's incredible, the system that we are.
only God could make it.
That's right. Okay, let's go ahead and rest for a moment. And the beauty of it is our body actually wants to be well. Like when somebody quits smoking cigarettes, immediately their lungs start to heal. And so our body wants to regenerate, doesn't want to degenerate. It wants to be restored to its original health. Now, obviously, the aging process is going to take us all eventually, but we can certainly give it a good swift kick in the backside and try and keep ourselves as healthy as possible. I've often mentioned Jack LaLanne, who stayed incredibly healthy, and even though he is now passed at the age of 96, he was so active and so vibrant all the way up until that time, to the point where he even worked out the day before he died. He died of pneumonia, but he was so active and just so full of energy as he sold his Jack LaLanne juicers, and he was so excited about the fruits and vegetables you put in there.
Yeah, very positive.
Very positive. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do some toe raises. We're going to back up a little bit, and now we're just going to come all the way up on our toes and back down again, and up and down. So again, at home, people oftentimes think that they don't, or they can't afford to go to a gym, or they don't have equipment. And so they say, well, I can't exercise. And we simplify it here. Go get your chair, go get your towel. We'll help you get through a workout. And the good thing about the Body and Spirit program is we have workouts for all levels. So maybe at first they have to start with this workout, but as they continue on, they can get with some of the more intense workouts. We'll do 5 more. Okay, feels good, doesn't it? Okay, now we're going to have a seat back in our chair again. And we're going to do a gentle stretch. I just want to go ahead and grab the knee and pull it up towards our chest. This is a great stretch. In the morning before you get out of bed, if you have any back problems, this is a real good one to do.
While you're laying down flat.
While you're laying down flat, pull it up and hold it for about 15, 20 seconds. And it can be the world of difference. Some people might jump out of bed without stretching, and all of a sudden their back grabs. And if they simply do this, it makes all the difference in the world.
Do it a couple times, and yeah.
So this is a great way to get your back ready for the day, so you don't get out of your bed and just start going, oh, ow, my back hurts again. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bring one leg up, and we're going to push down. Now this is one where I'm a little bit tighter, and this is affecting the hips. Yeah. And that's an area that I have to work on every now and then. If I start to have a little bit of tension in my back, I don't go after the hips so much. I go after my hip flexors. And that makes all the difference in the world for me.
And a lot of times that's where it's at. Your back's tight, but actually it's tight up in the front,
right,
pulling on your back. And that's you can use a tennis ball to loosen that up too. I like doing that.
Okay. The only thing I ever did with a tennis ball was hit them, so.
Well, there's other uses.
Okay. All right, that feels good. All right, now what we're going to do is we want to work on the torso as well, because that's something that everybody wants to develop. Okay, so we're going to put our hands on our abdomen so we can focus on what we're doing here. And then we're going to blow out and contract our abs. And then we're going to just sit back and push our back into the chair. Very simple movement, but very effective. Okay, blow out and back. Your abdominal muscle does not cross a joint. It simply has a 4-inch range of motion. And so we're doing the entire abdominal contraction just by doing this 4-inch range of motion. And then we stretch it back out again. You want to blow out because that encourages you to draw your abdomen in. So often you go to athletic clubs and you see men put on as much weight as possible on an abdominal machine.
Yeah.
And you see their bellies just sticking way out there and they're crunching large amounts of weight. And they go, first of all, you're encouraging your belly to stick out, which it already does. And second of all, you're using all sorts of weight, which is going to encourage muscle development. And so if they're doing it thinking they're going to make their bellies smaller, the harsh reality is going to do just the opposite. It's going to make their bellies bigger.
And women especially, yeah, they don't like thick waists. So.
Well, not too many people do, unless you want to play in the NFL on the offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know that you're going to want to have a big, wide abdomen.
Yeah.
But certainly for a lot of the professional football players, they need to have it. In fact, Lou Ferrigno, a very famous bodybuilder who tried to go play professional football, they said he was tremendously powerful, but he didn't have a wide enough waist. His waist was too small. It was only about 34 inches. And they say he just didn't have the stability because his waist was so small. He needed actually a bigger belly to play professional football.
Yeah.
We're looking good. We're almost done here. Okay, now let's just do a gentle stretch here where we're just going to turn our body and look back the other direction. All right, and let's go the other way. Should feel that in the trunk area. And it's a good way to cool down. Okay, very good. When people are suffering from various disorders, it can seem like such a hopeless situation. But that's the thing I love about having a walk with God. Nothing is too big. Nothing is hopeless. God can help us overcome all the situations in our life. It promises in the Bible that all things work together for good for those that love the Lord. It doesn't mean that it's all going to be good, but it'll work together for good. And remember, as our Lord Jesus Christ walked this earth, the first thing he did was heal the people. He took care of their physical needs, and that opened the door for him to share the gospel, the good news of everlasting life. And that's what we try and do as well. This is more than just a job for Lisa and myself. This is a ministry for us. We're out there helping people out there on the front lines, helping them to change their lifestyle so they feel like a new person. And as they start to feel good about themselves, they want to know more about what you believe in, what you think, and that opens the door to share the good news of the gospel and gets them really excited, because we know that without that, without the element of God in your life, you're never going to have the type of abundant health that you can have. And when people have that peaceful feeling, the peace that passes understanding, that's going to do so much to help boost their immune system. In fact, did you realize just going out and praising God, singing hymns and praising the Lord, that also stimulates your immune response, or getting involved reading God's word, getting creative activities, music, listening to soothing, uplifting music, not the pulsing hard rock stuff that's going to cause irritation, but beautiful hymns and so forth, and classical music will actually stimulate your immune system as well. And remember, we want to do all things for the right reason. Our call scripture on this show is Philippians 4:13, which says, I can do all things, not some things, but all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's always a pleasure to work with you. I'm so glad you've joined us again. God bless you. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Body and Spirit. God bless.